You don't mind, I like to sit nice and close to you guys. I heard you reading some poetry, and this is a little impromptu. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am the author of Never What It Seems in Autumn Leaves. Never What It Seems came out in March. It is my first novel. You have to forgive me, I'm a little nervous. I'm a writer, I'm not a speaker.
But love.
Thank you. And so, I like to tell people my weak spots, from the very beginning. But Never What It Seems, the coming to life story, is about two young ladies who were born and raised in the city of Chicago. Dee, who's the main character, believes that whatever God puts on you pray on it. Let God do it. Whereas her counterpart, AJ, she believes whatever you put out is what you're going to get back. And so you see these two women maneuvering some systems that are built in a sense to tear us down, excuse me, mentally, physically, and emotionally, and you watch us stay rise above adversity. Now, this one is 18 and over. This one is 21 and over. And the reason why is because it's about a young lady, her name is Claire. She's about to marry the man of her dreams, and so this woman walks into her life and makes her question everything she believes in. In a year, you watch as her life spirals completely out of control. It's about consequences. It's about right and wrong. And it's about cause and effect. So, with that being said, I would like to take a minute and read a poem that's in Autumn Leaves. Now, it is my first try with poetry. So it may not be as dynamic as some of the stuff that you read this afternoon. But I need you to understand that it's more visual than it's anything else. Okay. Thank you. Now, listen. Listen. Do you hear that? Don't move. Close your eyes and now listen. Do you hear it now? Maybe if I come closer. Still don't hear it? Place your hand over my heart. Now listen. Yes, you do hear it. Now listen closely to its rhythm. Know that it beats for you and only you. Yes, you hear it now. My heart mourns for you. Thank you. Now, if you don't mind, I would like to do something that I only usually do at book signings. And I usually do a personal reading of the first chapter of my first novel. So if you have a couple minutes, I would love to share this with you. Is that okay? Yes. Thank you. Now tell me about you can't hear me, okay? Chapter 1. A force is a push or a pull upon an object, which results from its interaction with another object. Forces result from interactions. Newton's third law. My name is Dee. I have led an interesting life. Well, only if the word interesting is defined as turbulent and unpredictable. To cope with life's difficulties, I have adopted a philosophy that life is about balance, that everything happens for a reason, and that whatever does not kill you would only make you stronger. I have also learned that you cannot do anything to alter or sway things in an attempt to produce a certain outcome. No matter how messed up things might seem, you just have to be patient enough and willing to allow things to even themselves out the way that they are supposed to. With all of that being said, you will understand why I chose to approach this last situation in my life the way that I did. You may find yourself wondering why I didn't try to deal with this matter differently, being a lawyer and all. But you have to understand that nothing good comes from lies and deceit. And although I did take matters into my own hands, you must understand that he betrayed him, so he had to be dealt with. I come from a very dysfunctional home. I only say that now, but as a child, I thought that everyone grew up in a home like mine. As a child, I developed a thick shell to cope with the chaos in my life. There was never any silence. Even when my parents were not fighting, the noise was still ringing in my ears from the day before. The arguments were the only thing in my life that was a constant. They argued during breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They argued before I went to school, when I came home, and even while I slept. I would never forget the late night arguments. Tell me it's good, my father would yell at my mother. Oh, it feels so good, Dad, my mother would yell back. Next you would hear a loud slap. My mother would scream, and then my father would ask, is this the best you've ever had? My mother would scream louder, yes. It's the best, Daddy. Oh, I'm careful about the content, so I'm watching all these young babies in this house. So we won't be using the regular version of this. I'm actually PG-ing it, down for you guys, okay?
We go.
Because like I said, this one is 18 and over, and the other one is 21 and over. But I'm careful about my audience.
Perfect.
There will be banging, and if things were being thrown around, then nothing but silence. The next morning, the only evidence of their altercation would be the red marks on their necks. I always thought that was strange. Of course, as I got older, I learned that. My memories of them goes back as far as when I was just a toddler. I will never forget the first argument I witnessed as a child. That ain't none of my baby. She don't even look like me, my father said, sipping his third gin and tonic. I wish you wouldn't do that in front of her. Anyway, she looks just like you, my mother said, standing over a sink full of dishwater. No, she don't. She looked like that man down at the fish market, he said, spilling part of his drink on the floor. You are being ridiculous as usual, she said, stepping away from the sink holding the knife she was cleaning. My father continued, she's too dark to be my baby. And look at her hair. My family has good hair, he said, passing his hand over the bald spot on the crown of his head. You don't even have any hair. Are you talking about those 3 strands of hair you spend 30 minutes every morning combing over your bald spot? You should save this conversation for somebody who don't have to look at you every day. Ain't nobody asked you to look at me, he slurred back. Who else gonna look at you other than me? She said, agitated, her eyes squinted when she spoke. I don't have time for this crap. That's 'cause you know I'm right with your trifling behind, he said, trying to stand, but only succeeded in falling back in his chair. I got your trifling. I take good care of you. And what do I get in return, she asked. And then answered her own question. Just respect. That's what I get in return. She stepped toward him holding the knife. I've had enough. Get out. I ain't going nowhere, he said, almost falling out of the chair. This is my house. Your house. She paused as if to say something, but decided against it. Then I'll leave. She slammed the knife on the table and removed her apron. If that's what you gotta do, then do it. And take that little nappy-headed baby with you, he yelled, falling completely out of the chair onto his butt. My mother grabbed her keys, her purse, and left slamming the door behind her. The next day it would start all over again. From sun up to sundown, the noise wouldn't stop. While my mom got dressed to leave for work, my father would start right in on her. It always started with the words that started with an H and a B. And then I would hear, goodbye, and the door would slam so hard the windows would rattle. As a child, I was amused by these things. The louder they were, the funnier I found it. I used to clap my hands and laugh through the entire episode. I didn't know any better. I was a baby. I remember running to my mother to catch her before she left, raising my tiny hands to her, but she wouldn't pick me up. I watched my mama grab her purse and thought that she would take me with her, but she just left me there with him. Watching my mother would send me into tears. At times, she never went farther than the backyard. I could see her outside the kitchen window. She would watch me. We would wave at each other. She would make faces at me to make me smile. And when my father would finally pass out from drinking too much, she would come back in. She would apologize for leaving me, tell me that she loved me, and that she would never leave me again. But those were lies, because my mother was always leaving me. At first, she would just sit in the backyard until he fell asleep. Then minutes became hours, then hours became days, and then days would turn into weeks. Eventually, she came back. I often asked where she went for such long periods of time, but she never told me. As I got older, in my mother's absence, I became the woman of the house. I was forced to cook and clean up behind my father. I hated it as much as I hated him. At times, he didn't even make it to his bed. I often found him passed out right in front of the toilet while we used his back as a footstool to use the washroom. The worst part was having to clean up his vomit, or worse, his urine, on days when he couldn't find the bathroom. I would cry and wish that I was dead while I mopped up his crap. I learned to detach myself from things and people to avoid getting hurt. By the time I became a teenager, I was so bitter and confused that I vowed I would never let anyone get next to me. I believed in balance and knew that with love came hate. There was no way of getting around it. You couldn't have one without the other. My mother and father were a prime example of that, and no matter how much my father drank and cursed at my mother, she remained by his side. My father no longer worked because of his condition, so my mother worked and paid all of the bills. The only thing that my father did full time was drink. He was so pitiful. Watching my mother assume the role of both mother and breadwinner had to have had some effect on him, but he would never admit it. He was cruel. He just walked around all day complaining and crying for no reason. I never felt sorry for him when he cried. I never understood why he complained so much. He had it good. He had a wife and a daughter that took care of him even when he treated us like crap. My mother worked hard to take care of us. We didn't have much. Our house was small, but no different than any other house on the block. The walls were covered in a cheap wood paneling, and the carpeting was worn and tattered. The furniture was old, and the paintings all held images of white people. My home was always clean, and I never went hungry. We always celebrated holidays, my birthday and Christmas. And when I was not allowed to have that toy that I wanted, my mother would explain that her check was short and I would have to wait until the next time. I remember being disappointed, and as my mother would try to console me, my father would curse me and tell me to get over it. I never called my father Daddy. I learned early the difference between the two. If you look under the dictionary under the word father, you wouldn't find a picture of mine. Now, if you looked under the words a-hole or jerk, you might find it. My father was always putting us down and calling us out of our names. I never understood how a 6-year-old could be a B or an H. When I finally learned what the names he called me meant, every time he used them it hurt as if he was saying it for the first time. Who knew that the words my father spoke were seeds that would eventually grow into low self-esteem and self-hatred? Maybe I shouldn't complain. I was lucky compared to some of the people I knew. My father never hit me. Most of them got their butts kicked every day. I remember how some kids came to school wearing long sleeve shirts in the summertime or long pants to hide the bruises. I never asked them what happened. Shoot, back then that was normal. Most of the kids I grew up with didn't even know who their fathers were. Even though I knew my father and he lived with me, I didn't feel very lucky. Every minute that I spent with him was like being in hell. At times I would try to become numb doing what I understand now was abuse. But it didn't make it any easier. Each day was a struggle. I couldn't wait to get the hell out of there. I never blamed my mother for leaving. Who would want to be bothered with that crap every day? Unfortunately, I was drafted into the war called my life, and going AWOL was out of the question. Thank you. So, again, like I said, I'm just grateful for this opportunity to speak with you guys. I never had any intention of, coming in and speaking with you, but I heard you guys, and it was just so emotionally filled, and I was like, okay, let me see if they'll allow me an opportunity to speak with you guys. So thank you so much. I'm really grateful. Thank you.